For tube riveting, you're going to need to know the outside diameter of the tube that you're using, and the inside diameter of the tube is going to show open in your piece. So if you remember back on this piece right here, inside diameter is there, outside diameter is flared out. So we're going to go ahead and use this brass tubing, and with the millimeter gauge, figure out what the outside diameter is. That's 3 millimeters. So again, go through your drill bits and find the one that's going to work for the size. So this right here is a little bit smaller, but I don't have a 3 millimeter exactly. So what I'll have to do is clean up the opening with a round file. So it's always better to drill a little bit smaller than larger. Because this is larger than the standard drill bits that we normally use, you're going to want to use a hand drill. Something this big drilling through metal, unless your metal is clamped down, it's really hard. The torque that's created on here, it's almost impossible to hold that in place when you're using a drill press. So we're going to shift to a hand drill. This hand drill right here has a chuck that you need to open and close to get the drill bit in, and in order to do that, your offhand has to hold the handle and the turning handle at the same time while you open. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Put this in, make sure that it's coming straight out in the direction of the main part of the drill. Just hand tighten that, and then this is going to come down to drill your hole. So you're going to use that to drill a hole. One trick of the trade is when you drill, you're going to be drilling next to your V-board or into your V-board. So the C-clamp that's holding down your V-board, you're going to put this up against the C-clamp. That way when you go to drill, the drill, when you turn it, is going to want to turn the metal. So if you don't have anything holding that down, it's not going to go anywhere. It's like tires spinning in the ice. So you're going to brace it so that when you drill that, it holds, and then you don't have to worry about that shifting on you. This has been pre-drilled, and just like we did with the wire rivet, you want to mark where that's going to go. So you grab that Sharpie marker, line this up, figure out where that opening is. Some people like to put an X, some people like to fill that in. Again, it always helps if your Sharpie marker works. And then once you have that, you're going to find that exact middle of this and use your awl to center hole punch before you start drilling. And again, if you do a little indentation before you drill, it just really helps the point of the drill get purchased so it doesn't spin about your metal. So I've already gone ahead and drilled this guy, so we're going to tube rivet right in here. And as you are cutting the tube rivet, you're going to mark again the length that you need. And that's not going to fit because that tube is bigger. So we're going to grab the tube that we measured. And if you put it down again, now some people, rather than putting it down and marking and giving a little bit of extra, some people just kind of eyeball it right here. So if I have a millimeter right here, and even if you use a thick Sharpie marker, you can get a line on here. Just make sure that doesn't shift on you. Double check this, and then depending on where your mark is, you may be sawing to the right of the line, the middle of the line, or to the left of the line. So we'll move over to the tube cutter to go ahead and cut that off. So once I have my tubes cut, I have two different sizes here, one that I think got a little bit too small. If your tube is too small, when you go to flare the outside, there's not enough length in there to do that on both sides, then it's not going to hold that together. Now the tube itself, if it's not fitting in there, the bigger the tube is a little bit easier to get in there than those smaller wire rivets. But once you have the tube in there, you're going to do similar to the wire rivets, although we're not going to just use this goldsmith hammer because that's just going to flatten it out unevenly. So what you're going to do on this one is once they're lined up, I'm going to find one of these dapping stamps right here, and you want to have one that does not fit all the way through, so that's going to be too small, that will go all the way down. You want to have the diameter of this be a little bit bigger than your tube itself. And you're going to use just a regular hammer. And this is going to come straight down, and I'm just using a leather mallet. You don't get as much force on that. And I came in, as I was talking, I wasn't paying too much attention, so I came in a little bit at an angle. So I want to come adjust that. And then I've done a couple of those, and then I flip back, make sure that they stay together. Straight down in. And everybody has the tendency, as I'm doing right now, to go at an angle when you do this. So you might have to kind of, again, adjust a little bit. Come in here, and already I can tell that I'm going to run into some problems with this. Because it's going crooked on me. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up for a second, so I will be right back. Once you put it in an angle, it's a little hard to get that cleaned up. I can come in and kind of creatively brace and hammer to try and bring that over, but I'm pretty much stuck with what I have now. So I'm going to go ahead and keep finishing this off. And again, less is more and straight down as you go, because it's really, really hard to change that angle once you start hammering. Now I'm going to use the flat side of this to kind of hammer down and planish it. And already this is just going from bad to worse. So if I keep doing this, and I'm going to go ahead and finish this out. If I keep doing this, I've just lost half of my tube rivet right over here. It collapsed into itself. This side is looking pretty good if I cover that up. The other side not so much so. So luckily it's on the back, but this is just a demo piece, so I would just consider this practice. Be like doing your sample piece. So I'm going to use this to kind of flush it out. This is the equivalent of using the planishing hammer. At this stage you could use the planishing hammer, but again, the planishing hammer has a wider surface so that I can do more damage to my piece. This one just fits right over the tube itself. Remember to keep turning. And then once you have that surface the way you want it, and this isn't moving, I said this still moves, so I don't want that to move. I'm just going to hammer that and keep going until it doesn't move. And there is your tube set.